So what if I told you that the most sophisticated piece of biochemical engineering in your house right now isn't your smartphone?
Oh, definitely not.
Right. It isn't your smartwatch, and it certainly isn't like that expensive air purifier sitting in the corner.
No, absolutely not.
What if the most advanced technology you own is actually just a $2 head of broccoli sitting at the very bottom of your refrigerator?
It sounds a little crazy to say out loud.
It sounds totally crazy, I know. But I mean, if you are anything like me, you are probably just constantly bombarded with complex, overwhelming nutritional advice.
Play every single day.
Right. You open up an app and immediately someone is telling you to drink this proprietary blend of alkaline water or...
Or that you need to stack 14 different exotic powders before dawn.
Yes. Exactly. Or that true wellness means tracking every single macro on some complicated spreadsheet. It is exhausting.
It really is. It's just a recipe for burnout.
Totally. But our goal for this deep dive today is to completely cut through all of that noise. We are, stepping back from the edge of information overload.
Which I think we all desperately need.
Definitely. So we have a set of source materials today that just strips away all that modern dietary anxiety, and it points us toward a singular, universally accessible, yet somehow incredibly misunderstood topic.
Everyday wellness through the lens of broccoli.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The mission here is simple. We want to show you how mastering the integration of this one humble vegetable into your life actually serves as this foundational shortcut to being truly well-informed about your personal health.
Because this really is a shortcut.
It is.
Yeah.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because to see a vegetable as a piece of, like, biochemical engineering, we really have to change how we look at food entirely, don't we?
We absolutely do. And to do this topic justice, we're going to be looking at this not just as a side dish on a dinner plate, but as a complete integrated system of everyday wellness.
A whole system.
Right. Exactly. We're going to examine the actual biological reality, the microscopic mechanisms that make this plant tick. But we're also going to tackle the macro level logistics.
Which is the stuff people actually struggle with.
Right. We're talking about the reality of seasonal buying, the hidden thermodynamics of your refrigerator.
Oh, the crisper drawer guilt?
Yes, the CRISPR guilt. We'll get into that. The psychology of daily habits and the actual mechanics of getting this plant from the soil into your bloodstream without, losing your mind in the process.
I love that framing. So before we can even begin to talk about how to integrate this into your weekly routine, we really have to understand why it warrants this much attention in the first place.
We have to look under the hood.
Right, we have to dive into the biological makeup. Our source material highlights that broccoli provides this incredibly robust matrix of vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, fiber, and specific plant compounds.
It's a very dense list.
It is. It reads a bit like the back of an expensive vitamin bottle. But, I mean, this isn't just a random assortment of good things loosely floating around in green tissue. There is a deeply functional mechanism at play here.
The mechanism is literally everything. Because when we read a list of nutrients, right, like vitamins and fiber, our brains are trained to process them as separate checkboxes.
Like, oh, I got my vitamin C today. Oh, I got my fiber today.
Precisely.
Yeah.
We think of vitamin C as one isolated thing, and fiber as a totally different thing. But the reality of biological nutrition is entirely different. What we're looking at is complex synergy.
Synergy. Okay, explain that a bit more.
So it is the interaction of these elements working together simultaneously that makes the vegetable so potent. For instance, the fiber in broccoli doesn't just, sit there acting as roughage.
Right, which is what we usually think of fiber as.
Exactly. It actively dictates the physical speed at which your body absorbs the carbohydrates and vitamins. And the minerals, well, they act as necessary catalysts that literally switch on the antioxidants so they can do their job of repairing cellular damage.
Okay, wait. Let's pause on that. Repairing cellular damage and antioxidants. Because we hear those terms constantly in marketing, usually to sell like really expensive face creams or detox juices.
Oh, absolutely. The wellness industry loves those buzzwords.
Yeah. But what does that actually mean on a microscopic level for the person listening right now?
That is a great question because the jargon totally obscures the reality. Let's break it down simply. Throughout the day, as your body just simply exists, as you digest food, as you breathe polluted air, as you encounter stress at work.
Which is all the time.
Right. Your cells produce byproducts called free radicals. You could think of free radicals as biological rust.
Biological rust. Okay, that's a great visual.
Yeah, and if left unchecked, this microscopic rust starts to corrode your cells, which is a process called oxidative stress.
And that's the bad stuff.
That's the bad stuff. Over time, this rust damages your DNA and accelerates aging and inflammation. What's fascinating here is how the specific plant compounds in broccoli step into this process.
They act as a defense.
Exactly. The antioxidants don't just magically make you healthier. They act like a highly targeted biological rust-proofing spray. They physically bind to those free radicals and neutralize them before they can corrode the cell wall.
Wow. Okay, so they stop the rust before it happens.
Right. But here is the real kicker. If you try to isolate one of those antioxidants in a laboratory and put it into a pill, your body often doesn't actually know how to absorb it because it is missing its chemical context.
It's chemical context. I like that. It's like having the rust-proofing spray, but you don't have the nozzle to actually apply it.
That is a perfect analogy, yes. In a pill, you are missing the natural fiber that slows the pill's journey through your digestive tract, right?
Yeah.
Which gives your intestinal walls time to actually absorb it.
Ah, so it just rushes right past.
Exactly. And you are missing the specific minerals that your liver needs to activate that antioxidant. Broccoli provides the exact required context naturally. It is a highly engineered biological delivery system that has, evolved over millennia to be perfectly bioavailable, meaning readily absorbed and used by human biology.
That concept of the biological delivery system, it really makes me think of it like a naturally occurring, perfectly balanced multivitamin that just happens to grow in the dirt.
Basically, yeah.
And think about the sheer amount of stress and, quite frankly, money you could save just by trusting that built-in system.
Oh, hundreds of dollars a month, easily.
Right. You don't have to play amateur biochemist. You don't have to stand in the supplement aisle Googling whether your isolated vitamin C powder needs to be taken on an empty stomach or with a glass of juice to work.
So stressful.
It is. But the vegetable has already done the math for you. It contains the exact ratio of water, fiber, and compounds needed to process itself. It is the ultimate cure for dietary info overload. You just eat the food, and the food knows exactly what to do.
You are effectively outsourcing the biochemical complexity to nature. And understanding that microscopic potency, the incredibly efficient rust-proofing of fiber delivery, that is what requires us to scale the conversation up.
Moving from the micro to the macro.
Right. Because biological repair doesn't just happen overnight. We have to move from the microscopic behavior of a single cell to the timeline of an entire human life.
Like decades.
Exactly. What happens when these synergistic nutrients are consumed, not just on, a random Tuesday, but consistently over 3 or 4 decades?
Right. And this is where the long-term health equation comes in. Because the sources we're looking at, they explicitly associate diets rich in these specific vegetables with much better long-term health outcomes.
And we really need to emphasize the mechanics of the word long-term. Wellness is not a switch you flip. When we say this vegetable is associated with long-term health, we are talking about compound interest.
Oh, like in a retirement account?
Exactly. If you are applying that cellular rust-proofing spray a couple of times a week, every week, for years, the cumulative effect is a massive reduction in systemic inflammation. If we connect this to the bigger picture, you are building a structural foundation for your body's future resilience.
That makes total sense.
Right. That compound interest pays out in your 50s, 60s, and 70s in the form of sustained mobility, sharper cognitive function, and just overall cellular vitality.
Okay, I want to jump in and add a heavy layer of nuance here, though.
Yeah.
Because there is a trap that a lot of wellness advice falls into.
The superfood trap.
Yes, exactly. When we talk about how highly engineered and amazing this one vegetable is, it is very easy for people to start treating it like a magic erase marker for bad habits. Like, oh, I ate a pizza, but I had a side of broccoli, so I'm fine.
Which is definitely not how biology works.
Right. And the source material is very clear that broccoli must be part of a broader balanced diet. I think we really need to move away from the idea of superfoods. Let's use a different metaphor. If your long-term health is a brick house you are trying to build, broccoli is the mortar.
Oh, I really like that.
Right. It is incredibly important. It holds everything together. It seals the gaps, and it protects the structure from the elements.
Yeah.
But, you cannot build a house out of just mortar.
You just have a puddle of cement.
Exactly. You still need the bricks. You still need the diverse proteins to physically rebuild your muscle tissue. And you still need the complex carbohydrates for sustained brain energy.
That is a highly accurate and functional metaphor. In fact, on a purely chemical level, the mortar actually requires the bricks to function.
Wait, really? How so?
Let's look at the bioavailability we mentioned earlier. Broccoli contains high amounts of vitamin K, which is totally crucial for bone health and blood clotting. But vitamin K is what we call a fat-soluble vitamin.
Meaning it literally dissolves in fat rather than water.
Exactly. So without getting too deep into the biochemistry, your intestinal walls need lipid molecules, basically fats, to act as little transport boats to carry that vitamin K from your gut into your bloodstream.
Ah, the transport boats.
Right. If you eat a bowl of just plain steamed broccoli with zero fat, a large percentage of that crucial vitamin K just passes right through your digestive system, totally unabsorbed.
That's tragic.
It is. You need the bricks of your diet, say a drizzle of olive oil, a handful of walnuts, or maybe a piece of salmon, to provide the fat that unlocks the vegetable's potential.
So if you don't pair it with a fat, you are essentially paying for the premium rust proofing, but pouring half of it straight down the drain.
Exactly. The ecosystem of the plate is non-negotiable.
Which brings up a massive practical hurdle. This is the reality check portion of the deep dive, because you and I can sit here and talk about lipid transport boats and cellular rust and long-term vitality all day long.
It's fun to talk about. It is fun.
But how do you, the listener, actually get the right ingredients into your home efficiently? We have to move out of the laboratory and into the aisles at the grocery store.
This is where we get into the hidden mechanics of everyday wellness. Our sources place a surprisingly heavy emphasis on the practical logistics of wellness. Shopping strategies, seasonal buying, and very specific storage methods.
Which honestly feels like the hardest part sometimes.
It really is. And I would argue this is the most critical part of our discussion. Because seasonal buying, for example, isn't just a nice tip to save 50 cents at the register. It connects you directly to the reality of the agricultural supply chain, which directly impacts everything we just talked about microscopically.
How so? Walk us through the journey of a vegetable out of season. Like, what's happening to it?
Well, when you buy a vegetable far outside of its natural growing season, it has likely been harvested prematurely, packed into crates, and kept in a chemically climate-controlled warehouse or shipped across an ocean for weeks.
So it's been in transit forever.
Right. And during that transit time, the vegetable is experiencing nutritional degradation. It is separated from its nutrient source, the soil, but it is still biologically active. It's alive.
It's trying to survive.
Exactly. It is trying to stay alive, so it starts consuming its own internal stores of sugars and antioxidants just to survive the journey. By the time it reaches your grocery store shelf, those potent plant compounds we want for our own cells have already been heavily depleted.
So buying in season means you are catching the plant at peak biological potency before it has to cannibalize its own nutrients to survive a cargo ship ride.
Precisely. You are maximizing the chemical context we discussed. But even if you buy it perfectly in season, this raises an important question. What happens when you bring it home?
The dreaded fridge.
Yes, because the storage of the food is the critical, often completely ignored bridge between having the intention to be healthy and actually executing that intention. It is the literal infrastructure of your diet.
I am so glad we were talking about this because we need to address the absolute guilt trip that is the crisper drawer in the refrigerator. Oh, everyone knows that feeling.
We have all lived this scenario.
Yeah.
You go to the grocery store on Sunday, you are incredibly motivated for the week, you buy this beautiful, vibrant green crown of broccoli.
You're feeling great about it.
Right, you toss it in the bottom drawer of the fridge, feeling very proud of your healthy choices. And then life gets incredibly busy. Work runs late, you order takeout on Tuesday, Thursday rolls around, you finally open that drawer, and it has turned into this sad, yellowing, rubbery mess.
It's a tragedy.
It is.
Yeah.
And not only does the food go in the trash, but you feel a profound sense of personal failure. And that failure creates this negative psychological feedback loop. You subconsciously avoid buying fresh produce the next time you shop because you just don't want to experience that guilt again.
It's a vicious cycle.
So we have to fix the infrastructure. Our source talks about specific storage like keeping it unwashed or using a damp paper towel. But wait, I need to stop you there because I have always been told that moisture is the absolute enemy of produce.
That's what everyone says. Right. I thought you wanted things completely dry so they don't rot. Why on earth are we adding a damp paper towel to the equation?
I know, it sounds totally counterintuitive.
Yeah.
But it comes down to understanding that the broccoli in your fridge is still breathing.
Breathing? Really?
Literally.
Oh.
On the surface of the plant are microscopic pores called stomata. For the plant to stay crisp and biologically viable, those stomata need a very specific microclimate. They need high ambient humidity to remain open and active.
Oh, I see.
If the air in the fridge is too dry, the plant rapidly loses internal moisture, causing the cell walls to collapse. That is exactly why it turns rubbery and limp.
Okay, so if it needs moisture, why not just run it under the sink, wash it, and put it in the fridge wet?
Because surface water is entirely different from ambient humidity. If you wash it and put it away wet, you're creating pools of stagnant water sitting on the surface of the florets.
And that's where the rot comes in.
Exactly. That stagnant water is a breeding ground for bacteria and mold, which causes it to rot and turn slimy. The damp paper towel is the perfect engineering solution here. By wrapping the stems or placing a slightly damp towel in the bag, you create a humid microclimate that keeps the stomata happy and the cell walls rigid without introducing the pooling surface water that accelerates bacterial rot.
That is fascinating. You are basically building a tiny, customized terrarium in your crisper drawer to pause the aging process of the plant.
That's a great way to look at it.
And if you just take 2 minutes on Sunday to engineer that microclimate, you buy yourself days of extra time. You eliminate the friction of rotting food, you eliminate the guilt, and you protect both your financial investment and the nutritional payload.
Exactly. Because knowing the nutritional facts is completely meaningless if the food just ends up in a landfill. Logistics are the true foundation of wellness.
Which perfectly sets up the final step of this entire process. Because once you've successfully navigated the seasonal supply chain, right, and you've engineered your crisper drawer so the broccoli is crisp and vibrant on a Thursday night.
You still actually have to eat it.
Yes. The final barrier to long-term health is actually cooking and eating it. Again, all this biological knowledge means nothing if it doesn't end up on your plate.
Right.
The sources give a lot of weight to practical meal ideas, easy preparation techniques, and creating simple ways to enjoy this food. And here's where it gets really interesting. I want to introduce a concept here that I like to call the weekly wellness rhythm.
The weekly wellness rhythm. I like the sound of that.
Yeah, so often we view healthy cooking as this grinding daily chore. It's an uphill battle. But if we utilize the incredibly simple preparation techniques outlined in the research, we completely reframe the activity.
And the phrasing in the source, easy preparation, is deeply intentional from a behavioral psychology standpoint.
Right. Because at 6 o'clock on a Wednesday evening, after a long day of making decisions at work, your brain is experiencing decision fatigue.
Your willpower is just completely gone.
Depleted. If cooking that broccoli requires looking up a complex recipe, chopping 4 different kinds of herbs, and dirtying 3 separate pans, your tired brain is going to reject the plan and you are going to order a pizza.
Every single time.
It is a guaranteed point of failure.
That is the concept of ego depletion. Human beings will naturally default to the path of least resistance when our cognitive resources are low. The key to long-term dietary success isn't cultivating more willpower. It really isn't.
It's about making it easy.
Exactly. It is designing an environment where the path of least resistance naturally leads to a healthy outcome.
You are engineering your default state by relying on the simplest possible preparations. I'm talking about just chopping the florets, tossing them in a bowl with a glug of olive oil and a heavy pinch of salt, and throwing them on a sheet pan in a hot oven for 20 minutes.
Minimal effort.
Completely. You remove all the cognitive friction. You aren't cooking in the stressful sense of the word. You are just keeping a highly reliable, low-stress, weekly appointment with your own health.
It becomes automatic.
Yeah, and the edges get that beautiful crispy char. The olive oil provides those lipid boats we talked about earlier to carry the vitamins across your gut, and the heat begins to break down the tough cellular walls just enough to make the nutrients easily digestible.
And by standardizing that process into a weekly rhythm, you guarantee the continuous intake of those antioxidants and fibers. You are ensuring that the biological rust-proofing is constantly being applied week in and week out without ever having to think very hard about it.
So what does this all mean? If we step back and look at the entire journey we've taken today, it is pretty remarkable.
It's a lot to take in, but it's powerful.
It really is. We started by looking through a microscope, right? Dissecting how complex plant compounds, fiber, and antioxidants act as a highly engineered rust-proofing system for your cellular health.
The micro level.
Right. Then we zoomed out to the macro level, understanding that wellness is not some quick fix, but a decades-long compounding investment where vegetables act as the vital mortar in the brick house of your diet.
Holding everything together.
Exactly. From there, we tackled the cold, hard logistics of the real world, the reality of seasonal nutritional degradation, and the exact thermodynamics of using a damp paper towel to keep the plant's stomata breathing in your crisper drawer.
The terrarium effect.
Yes. And finally, we landed on the behavioral psychology of decision fatigue and how adopting a frictionless weekly wellness rhythm ensures you actually reap the benefits. The ultimate takeaway for you listening right now is that lasting everyday wellness doesn't require a biochemistry degree.
Thank goodness for that.
Right. It doesn't require extreme restrictive diets, and it certainly doesn't require a cabinet full of expensive isolated vitamin pills. It just requires a practical, consistent, and slightly scientific approach to highly accessible natural foods.
It is entirely about mastering the fundamentals. But to push that mastery just one step further before we go, I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over, building directly on the concepts of chemical context and preparation that we've discussed today.
Oh, okay. Let's hear it.
So our source emphasizes both the complex compounds inherent in the vegetable and the importance of varied preparation techniques, right? But consider the thermodynamics of cooking itself. How do the specific ways we apply heat physically alter which of those vital antioxidants we actually unlock?
Oh, like roasting versus boiling.
Exactly. For example, boiling a vegetable submerges it in water, which might literally leach the water-soluble vitamins like vitamin C straight out into the pot, leaving the actual floret totally depleted.
Leaving all the good stuff in the water you throw away.
Right. But conversely, a rapid steam might perfectly preserve those water-soluble compounds. But what if a high-heat roast, combined with an oil, degrades the vitamin C, but simultaneously breaks down tough cellular walls to unlock a completely different fat-soluble compound that your brain needs?
Wow, so the method changes the medicine, basically.
Yes. Could the ultimate secret to maximizing our long-term health not just be that we eat this vegetable every week, but how we consciously adapt and rotate our preparation methods? Steaming one week, roasting the next, as our body's specific nutritional needs evolve over a lifetime.
Wow. That brings us right back to the beginning, doesn't it? We are not trying to diffuse some complex nutritional bomb here. We are just learning how to use a single incredible tool in slightly different ways as we grow.
It's all about working with nature, not against it.
It gives the power entirely back to you in your own kitchen. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Keep experimenting, keep learning, and we'll see you next time.